Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to No Fo Studios, where small town values are a big deal.
That was guest host Dave Perrin of Cedar House. Welcome for a new episode of Small Town Values, where we have Farm Chef Larry Kaiser, 1760 Homestead Farm. Larry, I'd like to start with you. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Not really a lot to say. I just bust my ass. I'm a hard worker. But I am a farmer, second stage of life, I guess. Didn't become a farmer until I was in my late 40s, early 50s. Everybody decided to get a divorce, buy a motorcycle. My wife and I literally bought the farm. So farming became a passion. I've always been involved in agriculture, and my father-in-law, God bless him, he was a farmer on the South Fork. So it was kind of like full circle for us, my wife and I, to have this, opportunity to do something on the North Fork, and it just snowballs.
So may I ask, were you a chef and then you went to a farmer?
No. I was a dishwasher that learned a few things.
Okay,
in restaurants.
Fair enough.
And then when I met my wife, we realized that restaurant life wasn't conducive for family.
No.
So we got out of the restaurant business and we started a landscaping business, a landscaping company together. And we had that for almost 30 years now. Our son, who's older now, is taking it over, working in that. But no, I'm not a chef by any means. My friends call me chef because they see I'm very creative and passionate about what I do. So I consider myself a farm chef, which is
I love it.
A little different. A regular chef gets to go to the market and figure out, what am I going to make tonight? A farm chef has to look at 500 pounds of tomatoes and say, shit, it's going to spoil. What can I do to save it?
Something must be done with this immediately.
Exactly. So
either way, you've never chose the easy route. Landscaping, lots of hard work.
Yes.
Starting with dishwashing, also very hard work. To hey, wait, I'll retire and farm.
And
Super hard work.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let me get up at 4:30 in the morning to go and farm, and then to shoot myself in the foot even more, I started baking at the farm, to kind of increase a little revenue.
Which you have to see this operation.
I'm baking out of it. It's a certified sanitary kitchen, through the state. So I'm usually in there before daylight.
Oh yeah,
before daylight, and baking pies, scones, pastries, and then once day breaks, I'll go out in the field for a while and get things set up. If I have help that day, which most days I don't, then I get to stand set up with my wife. She does a lot of the retail portion of it, nice. And so I make sure all the produce is out for that section. And finally, maybe somewhere around 12 or 13 hours later, I'm done, about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night.
Just in time to make dinner?
Yeah,
exactly.
Go home, make dinner, pour more bourbon, sit on the porch, bitch about the day, go to bed, and get up and do it all over.
Do it all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I've never chosen an easy path.
I like that.
So I'm thinking the reason why, Dave, I asked you to come on again, one is because you're a fabulous guest. And I want to make you a co-host, really. And when you have the time, maybe as the season ends, we could probably facilitate that. But you guys are right down the road from each other. And the moment you guys saw each other, right, you guys instantly have chemistry. I think this is a collaboration in the making. I'm glad you were available today. I'm glad Larry's on the show. So I'd like you guys to take it from here and tell us how you guys think you could work together.
All right. Well, first, I want to say thank you for inviting me back again. As I told my daughter not long ago, there's never been a time I've met a microphone I didn't like. So I do enjoy doing this.
Love having you on.
More importantly, I enjoy meeting new people, and I certainly love having these open dialogues and discussions. As I've said in the past, and I try to kind of boastfully say in a sincere way, or a modest way, if you will, even with my guests, I like to consider myself a concierge of the North Fork, right? Mm-hmm. It's my job to help them have the best experience.
Absolutely.
So, when Vin sent me the invite to come on, and I did a quick little homework read, and then embarrassingly realized we are neighbors down the road.
Yes, we are.
I have driven past your place countless times, and always with the intent of, hey, I got to pull in there. But also in my mind, it was, hey, I've got 45 minutes to get to Riverhead, turn around, and be back. So it just hasn't happened. And I see all your signs. I see all your product.
Oh, yeah.
And today, when I just did the quick, brief look over, seeing the events you do, just reading your history and your story, I think it's incredible. And I'm sorry to say I haven't, taken the time to
And that's fine.
investigate yet.
And that's totally fine. I can tell you right now, I could retire on the dollar amount. If I charge everybody $1 that said I passed by that sign 1,000,000 times and I've never stopped in, if I had $1 for every time, I could retire. I wouldn't have to farm.
I'm with you. It's actually one of the blessings and curses of Sound Avenue.
Correct.
Mine is it's the $1 except for on Fridays because that's the day I have most time in the world, and everybody stops in and says, I've driven past here 1,000 times, but I just thought maybe we could get a tour. I'm like, right, because this is the best time ever. Exactly. Yes, you can. But happy to do so. So just to kind of circle back, yes, I'm super excited to see what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
And the classes that you're providing, which I think is an invaluable learning tool for so many people, especially when it comes, as we were mentioning before, produce, fresh produce, real product. The shelf life is short, as we all know, in the culinary world. So if you don't have a plan, unfortunately, that plan usually turns into garbage or composting. Seeing that you were doing, multiple programs, I'm going to let you kind of share a few of those.
Sure.
I'm excited to pass that information along, not only to my guests, but encourage people to sign up and be a part of this, because I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. And first off, I have to say, ironically, I'm looking forward to meeting you at some point for the simple reason that there is history, okay? Your bed and breakfast, who you've done a fabulous job refurbishing, by the way.
Thank you.
Was my father-in-law's North Fork packing shed.
Which is great.
And that is unbelievable to me. That is seeing it come full circle, and it's providing and carrying on. So many places on the North Fork have been bulldozed, knocked down, sold off, developed, okay? And that's really part of our passion, what we do. And our farm was built in 1760, all right? So it's 263 years old with the original buildings, the original house, okay? I have a 19-page history report that the Landmarks Committee did for me. So our goal is to preserve North Fork, just like you did, okay? You've preserved part of my family's history, my wife's family's history, and a piece of the North Fork, iconic North Fork. So because there's a limited amount of economics to go around, okay? We have to constantly reinvent ourselves. And we have to constantly take the time, like you said. It's not a great time for a tour, but I'm going to do it because I want you to go away happy.
We're glad you're here.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So when in fact, I'm on the way here, I had somebody that wanted to ask me questions about the barn. I'm like, I have a few minutes to spend with you, but I would love to, come back and I'll give you a really, full thing. And they were appreciative, So yeah, our goal is to, preserve some of the North Fork farming history. But again, it goes back to economics.
Which it always does. But I do want to take a quick funny ha-ha jab for any of our young listeners out there. 1760, right?
Yeah.
That was before we were a country.
Correct.
So just put that into perspective.
Pre-revolution.
Pre-revolution. And that's amazing. And to me, I always have to say that, yes, we are trying to preserve the agricultural integrity.
Right.
Well, 1760, I don't think you can get any more preservation of agricultural integrity.
Exactly. No, so, to do that, in order to keep things going, we had it redesignated as a farm. It hadn't been farmed since the 70s, We bill ourselves as the biggest little farm on the North Fork. We're only 4.5 acres. With that, we're a whole mixed use. And let me explain to you a little bit is that the historical designation of the farm is that it's the oldest standing homestead on Sound Avenue, okay? So when Margaret and I needed a name for the farm to create it as a farm, we picked 1760, the year it was built, homestead for its historical status, farm. And we petitioned the county over a couple of years, and we finally got farm status within New York State. And so to keep with that homestead thing, we developed the homesteading model. We farm as a homesteading model, which is you really farm for yourself, sole existence,
right.
And then you barter, sell, or exchange all your surplus. So that's really what it is. It's a total mixed use. So that's where we come in with the honey, the fruits, the jams, the jellies, the sauces, the pickling items, all the ingredients, all the culinary ingredients. So we try to get that full circle kind of thing going.
So really, I mean, even Cedar House, I homestead.
You do. Everybody does.
My children have bedrooms, and my wife and I have a place to live and a roof over our heads, and then we, barter and trade out the rest of the rooms, But it's awesome. And like I said, looking through, seeing the pickling, seeing teaching people how to make the sauces,
Right.
These are all just such awesome tools. And so, how many of those do you normally do throughout like a summer?
I want to say anywhere from 8 to 20. It really depends.
And what's your average group size?
Well, for smaller classes like pickling, jam making, stuff like that, that's usually 6 to 8.
Okay.
Okay. Usually around 10 people is the max.
All right.
During the winter, it becomes more popular. I do actual cooking lessons where 2 or 3 couples will get together and they'll call me up and say, hey, listen, I want to come out and I want to do cooking lessons, have farm chef experience, we call it. And I said, well, what is it you want to learn? Well, I was at this restaurant and I had beef bordelaise. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I know the dish. I said, is that what you want to make? Yeah. I said, you asked for all the dietary stuff. Of
course.
Of course. So one of my most popular ones was this beef bordelaise dish where the guests come in, they don their aprons, and I show them how to break down a filet mignon. I have herbs that I've used, from the farm. And we make up the dish, and then the mudroom, which is right next to the kitchen.
Right.
I have a dining table in there that'll seat up to 10 people. So
You got to see it. It's amazing.
we'll cook in the kitchen, and then we'll go ahead and eat at the table as like a family.
I hope my wheels are spinning right now.
I'm sure they are.
Obviously we have 5 guest rooms, so 10 people is our normal occupancy. And a lot of times it's one group.
Easily.
Now, in the past, I've also had groups who've said, hey, Dave, can we do a cooking weekend? And I'm like, all right. I mean, and I've become friends with them, so it's different.
Sure.
Now, between you and I, my favorite part about doing a cooking weekend with guests is Friday night when they're actually doing all the prep for their own breakfast. It's such a great thing.
Wait, we're not having tomatoes this evening.
Yeah. Well, funny story. But we have done where, obviously Friday night we do some prep.
Yep.
Saturday morning, they get up early and come down and actually watch the breakfast kind of come to fruition.
Yep.
And then take a little breather. They can go out, maybe, go see something, do something, come back, and then we start prep for that evening's dinner.
Nice.
And we kind of do it all together, and it's a lot of fun, and usually involves, some neighbors' local libations. And so by the time we sit down to eat, everybody's had a great time, and they've hopefully learned a few things, but it's been a lot of fun. So obviously my wheels are spinning, but wait, hold on. I can save one round of cleanup. We can do Friday night with me, and Saturday, guess what we're going?
That's right.
Right over for
That's
the.
right. And I have to tell you, it's very laid back and it's very real, and it's real because I've had guests come in and 3 generations. Okay. Nice. Grandma didn't want to do nothing but just sit there and sip on the Prosecco and watch the grandkids make the pasta.
So you're not actually like pulling out a ruler and telling them that julienne is not 2.5.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. You're like, no, that's we're going to need to recut that.
Listen, cooking should be fun. Okay.
Great.
It really should be fun. And one thing I've learned, and you will understand this, I think, never cook when you're pissed. It ruins the food.
It ruins the food.
Okay.
Bad
Your
energy.
Attitude, yes. Your attitude is reflected in what you cook. Okay. Friend told me that. I never believed it. I was making dinner one night. I was all angry and upset. It was the worst meal I think I ever made. Okay. Just wasn't right. And I'd made the dish 15 times before. But anyway, getting back to this whole cooking thing, it's tailored for whatever they want. Sometimes it's 2 people. Sometimes it's 8 people. Sometimes it's a Sunday supper with pasta. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to go pick vegetables for the dinner today. Okay, guys, let's go.
Let's go.
Here's the basket. These are the ingredients.
How amazing.
And we go out in the field and we pick.
Think about how fresh that meal is.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And, we all take for granted how many people have never actually picked something off a vine.
Correct.
And ate it.
Right, correct. Picked and consumed all in the same, day.
People don't know where their food comes from. Okay. My wife tells this story, okay, when her father had a farm stand over there in Bridgehampton, okay, full time, all the pumpkins are underneath this maple tree, because it's shady. You don't want the pumpkins to spoil.
No, yeah.
Kid you not, the story goes that father and daughter get out of the car. The daughter says, oh, Daddy, look at all the pumpkins. Where did they come from? He says, well, that must be a pumpkin tree because they're all underneath the tree and they fell out of the tree. People don't know where their food comes from. It's amazing.
No, they do not. I actually had, I I think I mentioned this earlier. We were off air. A lot of times my guests like to ask, inquisitive questions. Oh, is this local? Is this local? Whatever ingredient is. And I try to use as much as I possibly can. This one guest in particular, this one was, insistently asking if every single thing. Now, did you get this locally? Yes, actually I did. Oh, yes, those berries are, And then she says, oh, wow, this pineapple is amazing. And I said, oh, thank you. She goes, well, what farm stand did you get that from? Now, I started laughing because I'm cooking, and I think she's now busting my chops.
Right.
And I kid you not, when she stops and she looks at me and she says, so you're just going to hold out and not tell me? And I kind of looked over and I said, ma'am, you do realize it's a pineapple, correct? She said, yes, it's super sweet, and I'd like to get one. And I said, okay, well, you're in Long Island, New York, and it's a pineapple. Let's just do that one more time together. Yeah. Everybody else is laughing. She thinks I'm making, and I realized, wow, okay, there really is this major disconnect in our world of people not knowing where their food comes from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty eye-opening.
It is very eye-opening. I've had guests come into the farm stand, March, April. Do you have strawberries? No.
True.
But I was in the supermarket and they have strawberries.
Right.
Yes. Well, they're local, right? To another state maybe, but not here. So
they came in on a rail car.
Well, and that's the other thing. And I'd like to explain to people that, we did this to ourselves, right? We all, if you want to eat watermelon in January, well, guess what? But that's what we've done. We've created this, nothing's seasonal anymore. So then when people take a bite out of something and they're like, whoa, that strawberry's right on the inside. That's crazy. I'm like, right. Because it's like, it's legit. It's right. It's seasonally correct.
Well, see, that goes into a whole nother spectrum is food security. Okay.
Absolutely.
We get these strawberries that come out of, whatever state. And I know for a fact they're picked green. They're not even red.
Right.
They're gassed to turn them red. By the time they're shipped from whatever state to whatever the next state, they're now red.
Red.
Okay. It's the same thing with the eggs. Everybody wants to buy that 99-cent dozen eggs. They don't realize it takes 30 days for the farmer to collect them, pack them, ship them, and then it takes another 30 days for them to get trucked, sorted, and distributed to the supermarket. That's 60 days.
And only the special chickens can put out the eggs that have the EB on it.
It's a special genome.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yes, it is.
But so food security has become a big thing, and no waste.
No waste.
That's what kind of we work at the farm. We were kidding before, about me being a chef and all that. And farm chef. Because farm chef, like I said, you're looking at 500 pounds of tomatoes or 20 pounds of fruit. What can I do to salvage that so I'm not wasting it? I'm not throwing it away. What baked item, jarred item, canned item can I make?
Yeah, actually, I didn't get into cooking until I went off to college and then, decided that was the industry I wanted to go towards.
Right.
But I grew up as a farm kid with a farm stand. And, in our house, eating was out of necessity. I didn't really have a strong passion for food. I kind of had that very English, Scottish thing where it was
hot on a plate.
It was hot. Like seasoning was, And so to me, I was like, yeah, okay, great. But my father was a very wise man and a farmer who had pivoted and decided to get out of, dairy farming and went to work for New York State Farm Bureau, but we still had our farm stand and produce. But then we got pigs. So the pigs would get all of the other product that didn't sell. And man, those were some tasty pigs. Because, they were eating the best of the best.
And that goes that all ties in with our homesteading model. Okay, so the blemished fruit, if I can't use it to produce something else, that goes to feed and fodder to the goats and the chickens.
Absolutely.
People wonder why the yolks are so bright and vibrant. It's because of what they're being fed. Not only the free range. Oh, absolutely.
Crack it.
Yeah, and one stands proud and one's running out.
Right, exactly. Just the yolk alone. You're like, look, here you go.
Right.
Yeah, yes, clearly these were all bleached.
Yeah. It matches the opaque plate,
Yeah, that's right.
But going back to food waste and stuff, we make Concord grape pie. You've been up and down Sound Avenue. You've seen the sound.
You have to taste it.
I have. I've never tasted it. I've seen this.
Well, we're going to have a pie tasting. We'll get you in there. We'll get you in there. So the idea with that is Concord grapes are grown in the Finger Lakes region of New York. And grape pie is a regional delicacy up there. So after having tasted and been encouraged to rework it and bring it to the wine country of Long Island, because grapes are grape,
Right.
not the same grape, but it's grape, I buy the pressings. After they squeeze the grapes, instead of it going to a landfill or fodder or anything else, I have a deal with the processing plant where I buy thousands of pounds of pulp.
Period.
Okay. And it's shipped down to me, and we have a proven recipe, and we reconstitute it into a pie filling.
Wow.
And so it's zero waste. You know, it goes from, you know, what could have been deemed waste, but it's not.
Right.
It's still good.
That's awesome.
how you use it.
Absolutely.
So that's like our flagship pie.
That's great.
So I keep saying how creative the farmer must be to sustain a farm, sustain the business model. Larry, you're really doing it in every way possible. How are you finding farming in the town of Riverhead and on development rights sold land?
We are, like I said, we're 4.5 acres. Okay, we're not a big farm. We're not a commodity farm. Okay, so you know the commodity farm needs hundreds of acres. Could I stand some more acreage? Sure, but it's very difficult to find tillable land at an affordable price. Okay, and we know this has been ongoing for years. Okay, this is nothing new. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, and you know, because there's a lot of good programs.
Yeah, there are.
But, you know, one of my pet peeves, though, and this is what I'd like your listeners to think about, is that it's great. Land preservation is wonderful, but it all comes at a cost, okay? We preserved, case in point, right around my farm, used to be part of my farm, okay? It's 300 acres. It's now called the North Fork County Park, okay? It was a hunting preserve prior, for which I worked. It was managed very well. It used to be part of the farm. Well, the county and town decided they wanted to preserve it. Wonderful, preserved land. That 300 acres came off the tax rolls.
Right.
That particular parcel alone was worth tens of thousands of dollars in tax revenue, maybe hundreds, I don't know, of tax revenue. Now you have to have somebody maintain that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your parks department. They're understaffed, underfunded. I've watched that property dwindle and waste away over the past 10 years that they've had it, okay? Calls have been put out. Can we farm it? Can we use different things? There's a tillable acreage here. Yes, but the process is arduous. It literally took me, I started the process in August. I started with my county legislator and went through the whole series of events, only to find out 9 months later, they were willing to consider renting me a 20-acre parcel that had no water, no infrastructure, and no way to get to it. Okay? It was just mowed ground. It's not viable.
No,
You know?
not at all. And that is absolutely one of those costs of preserving land. Is it being maintained?
Right.
Is it truly being preserved, or is it now just sitting there going fall? Like, I mean, that's a whole other problem.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that hey, overgrown shrub and thatch is not a win.
No, it's not. And we always talk about, you know, especially now, I'm in the town of Riverhead. There's a lot of push and a lot of development, and everybody wants open space. Everybody wants open space. But if you owned 40 acres, okay, why would you not want to, at some point, cash in on that?
Of course.
What I mean is that you bought that as an investment. That's someone's retirement. That's a family's legacy, no matter what it is, okay? There should be responsible development, okay? There should be thought out. And not always everything can be preserved.
That responsible growth.
How does that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who says that?
Who says?
Who said that? Who said that?
God forbid.
God forbid. God forbid anybody put some forethought. So I always have my ear to the ground, okay? In town of Riverhead, there's a lot of different projects on the books and a lot of developments. Unfortunately, where my personal home is, the 20 acres that I've enjoyed for the past 40 years as open space is now slated for development.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do appreciate the fact that there was covenants and restrictions imposed as far as a 50-foot buffer of native trees.
Right.
It has to be set up in such a way.
Respectful of your neighbors.
Exactly. There's this big push now for, they want to call it a form of agritourism.
Yes.
It's let's have some farm fields and then we'll put some high-end villas on the beach and we'll call it a farm resort.
Right.
Okay. But now you have to look at what's the lesser of two evils.
Let's just call it a resort in farm country.
Let's call it a farm country resort. Absolutely.
Don't call it agritourism.
But what is the lesser of two evils? Okay. Right. 25 villas and preserved land that's still possibly used for agriculture, or a 90 lot subdivision.
Agreed. Right. Now, and I think, yes, those are the conversations we need to be having.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what people need to ask.
Those are all the questions that have to be asked. I just think that what happens is we all use certain phrases and buzzwords that immediately turn people off, and now they've just shut down and they're not even thinking about the alternative consequence, right? So because they've already got in their mind, well, that's what this is, and so that's where we do ourselves a disservice.
Yes.
But I do think that the possible farm use is also concerning. Like the situation that you were just speaking of. All right, if you've got all this land and it's not being maintained at its peak
visual,
yes, or abilities. For whatever reason, lack of funding, lack of staffing, etc., and someone says, hey, let me do something with this parcel that's agriculture 100%. We're not talking about I want to, put a retail shop on there. No, I just want to farm that plot of land.
Right. God forbid you alleviate some tax burdens.
Why make it such an arduous process, right? Like that's where I think we need to do a better job.
It shouldn't be, yeah, you're absolutely right. It should not be an arduous process. But here's another caveat. I always think 9 times till Sunday, okay? There's prime acres to be rented or leased out on one of these farm resorts, okay?
Right.
I've hunted out here my whole adult life, okay? My hunting lease used to consist of a gift certificate to the elbow room to the farmer for letting me shoot geese on his farm field, okay? Awesome. Then all of a sudden, it became popular, and outfitters come in here, okay? Or a group of people got together and said to that same farmer, well, forget Larry's gift certificate. How about we buy you a filet mignon?
Right.
And then it was, well, how about we buy you a case of wine? And then it was, how about we pay you $10,000? Okay, so now Larry, who doesn't have $10,000, guess what? Doesn't hunt anymore.
Larry's out. Right.
What about your farmer? Okay, same thing. Well, Farm A would maybe pay $100 an acre. Farm B comes along, I really want it. I'll give you $200. So what happens to the small farms?
Right.
That's the issue here, okay? Commodity farms are going out faster than you can count.
Right.
Okay.
But you set the rent, right? That the rent will put the business model and make it non-functioning.
But absolutely.
Right? So the rent can only be the rent. The regulations need to loosen up a little bit to allow the farmer to pay the rent, right? To process added value, value added, however that term is that I love these days. Anthony Sanino brought it up, right? You could say, we say this all the time. You could take a bushel of eggplant.
Yes.
To Hunt's Point and sell. What does that bushel go for these days?
I think it's like $8.
$8, right? But you take one eggplant, you could probably make how many jars of
Well, let's put it this way. That same bushel of eggplant, I can do value-added product, make eggplant caponata, and I will turn that case of eggplant into 48 jars, okay, valued at $12 a jar.
How do you even try to go wholesale?
It's very difficult.
You need the processing.
Right. You need the processing, and that's where your commodity farms, okay? Right. Because a commodity farm that's doing 150 acres of eggplant, $8 a box is good.
Right. That's fine.
That's right.
You're doing volume.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
It's the age-old thing. You either do volume and make a little less, or you do less and make a little bit more profit.
Right.
But there's a market for both, and you got to figure out where your market is.
I just had this conversation with some guests talking about restaurants. We're discussing, because they went out to restaurant X and restaurant Y and everything's so expensive. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, look, obviously we don't need to, it's not a shock when we talk about the cost of food and the cost of labor, et cetera. I said, but you also have to look at the restaurants you're speaking of. As a former restaurateur, it's the same business model. I don't care what industry it is. you're either going to do it in volume,
Right.
or not. So if you're going to a smaller place, which is that fine dining label, and they're only getting 1 to 1.5 table turns a night,
Right.
well, guess what? They have to make that money,
Yes.
as opposed to places turning the table over 3 times. So look at it from that lens, and that same principle you apply to farming, to our life. We had this conversation the last time I was on the show, talking about how do our kids come back here? It just is where we're at.
Yeah. To bring it back towards more the farming aspect, and we're talking about value-added stuff, okay? Go up and down the road and look at how many different things are offered at the farms now, okay? Farm stands, okay? Strawberry shortcake, soft serve ice cream, watermelon smoothies. I mean, you can go on and on and on. But that's what the people want, okay? Last year, it was a joke. I couldn't sell a $2 zucchini, but I could sell a $15 zucchini bread because I took that $2 zucchini, turned it into a bread. It was a value-added product,
Right.
okay? That's going to be, food is where your farms are going to, okay? And there's nothing wrong with it, but not every farm can do that.
Correct.
Especially when you're farming in towns where they're not so friendly to agriculture, and they try to prohibit you being sustainable around every turn. And this is what I'm hearing. I've invited a couple of town officials and board members on the show. Still haven't heard anything yet. But
Vinny, that brings up a point, okay? And yes, the town officials are very important in all this, okay? But what is an elected official? An elected official is the voice of the constituents, okay?
Yes, it
So
is.
your constituents are directing his or her attitude.
Yeah.
And here's a little case in point. I was landscaper, okay? Was working in a very prominent cul-de-sac development next to 30 acres of farmland, okay? And the HOA decided that they didn't like hearing the irrigation motor on at 4 o'clock in the morning for the farmer to irrigate his crops, okay? Because they paid, at the time it was big money, $400,000 for their house,
Yeah.
okay? So they were going to take him to court and to make him stop using the irrigation motor. Now, one of my clients, the name was Bill, he was a great man, stood up and says, I want you to give me 72 hours to rectify this situation. They're like, sure, you have a good lawyer? He says, allow me to do it. He went down to Napa and he bought a muffler and he brought it over to the farmer. He says, would you mind installing this on your irrigation motor? I noticed there's no muffler on the motor to quiet it down a little bit. I was like, no problem. Nobody ever said anything. I never knew it was an issue. Okay?
Right.
Put the muffler on there, boom. So
we got to work
powers
together.
that be have to listen to them, but the people also have to be able to communicate.
Correct.
Correct.
They have to be able to say, yes, this is what's bothering me, or no, that's not right.
Did you ever even have a conversation?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why this show is so important, because I feel everyone needs to be heard, but everyone could come together as a community and discuss what's going on. What's at risk? What do we stand to lose with the decisions we're making, right? And Larry, you're doing a great thing. You're farming preserved land. I'm all for land preservation for the purpose of agriculture, because where does our food come from? I want to know where my food comes from.
Correct.
That's why I couldn't feel more strongly about this. We do need land preservation. We do need the farmer to farm that land, but we can't hurt the farmer in the process. And I worked a lot of different jobs. Farmer is by far the hardest occupation I've ever worked physically, right? There's nothing easy. Everything is big. Everything is rusts. Everything
Breaks.
right? So, but on a lighter note, Larry, I saw and I heard some great news that you're about to be on a show on a major network. You want to tell us about it?
Yes. Again, through social media, I get myself jammed up sometimes. And my great pie. I did, to educate people, I wanted to create these meal reels. So once a week I would do a dish, and it would be a whole production thing, and I would release one every week. And I happened to do one on Concord grape pie, and I said, this is an award-winning pie. Well, actually won the blue ribbon at the Country Fair in Riverhead one year, So it goes up on the whole thing. And then I don't know, about a day or two later, I get a phone call, a message. Can I speak to you about your pie? Sure, no problem. Can I call you? Okay, fine. So I call and I get, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm a talent scout. We're searching for blue ribbon bakers. I said, okay. So that wound up getting me to a Zoom call with an executive producer.
Wow.
Okay.
Great.
Out in LA. And so that actually got me into the casting process of the Blue Ribbon Baking Championship. It turned out to be a nationwide casting call.
That is awesome.
And I wound up succeeding to be one of the 10 contestants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Well deserved.
Thank you. So it's a Netflix series premiere.
Wow.
August 9th it drops, all 8 episodes.
Oh, that's great.
So they're already filmed.
They're already filmed, already done.
Don't ask any more questions.
No,
Sorry,
August 9th. That's it.
trying to get
That's
a sneak
it.
peek.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But I will tell you, I said this before. My goal on doing that was not about to getting famous for me. I wanted to bring notoriety to the East End of Long Island farming community. And I think that was part of the reason I was actually chosen to be on there, is because I wasn't an accomplished chef. I'm not a professional baker. I'm a farmer that bakes good stuff. Okay.
Fresh.
I love
Fresh stuff.
that. Is great.
So you got to watch the first episode, because you'll truly understand how I represented Long Island farming. Okay?
That is so cool.
The whole premise of the show is great. It's about a state fair. So you have to think like state fair kind of stuff, pies and pops and this and that. But it's twists. They give you a certain premise to work in, a certain time constraint, certain ingredients, you know.
So good.
If it hits a level of chopped, though, I'm going to be honest, Larry, I'm going to get really upset.
We're gonna want autographs.
Yeah. As soon as you have to open that basket, they're like, it's no longer Concord grape. It's gummy bears. You're like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah. No, it was an amazing experience. I equated it. It's baking boot camp is really.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. When we first got there, the first assignment was boot camp. They brought an instructor in to teach us how to competitively bake, because what would take normally, say, 3 hours in the kitchen,
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
you're only given a time constraint. So now you have to learn the different techniques, methodologies. You have to learn all this different stuff.
So that's really cool. Obviously, I'm assuming then you were able to bring some of that back.
Oh, 100%.
And now you actually are like, wow, I can bang out some items.
Exactly. I mean,
That's great.
my confidence level alone is just, increased.
That's great.
I'm not afraid to try that.
Right.
You know, I need 20 great pies in an hour. No problem.
I can do this now.
I can really work.
Someone calls you for that order. You're like, the answer is yes. What is the question? I'm in. All right, let's do it.
Exactly.
That's great. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
Speaking of that, now, obviously, come holiday time.
Yeah.
Like, do you just get massive orders in advance, or how does that work?
See, I cook really specialty pies.
Okay.
Okay. And I have a following. Of course, grape pie. Yeah. Thanksgiving is a big time for us. We're the place everybody stops for that treat.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Grape pie alone, I probably sell about maybe 2,800. Okay. I think last year all my baked goods counts was probably close to 8,000.
So now, do you feel after having this experience, maybe that 2,800 could become like 4,000?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. All right, good.
And the lifestyle, like you touched on it before, if you're a farmer, and that's part of what got me on the show, I think, is because, can you work under stress? Yeah, okay, I work with stress.
Nothing but stress.
It's nothing but stress. Can you stand periods of solitude? Sure. Put me on a tractor. Cup of coffee, I'm good to go. Right. So yeah, but these are really the things that you have to, if you're going to compete, okay, you have to have a thick skin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because kind words can be unsaid.
You wash dishes in a restaurant. We all know what that means. It's like, I mean, come on.
Pots thrown at you, yeah.
There is not, question one to anybody coming in the restaurant business.
Exactly.
Can you handle whatever you might hear?
So it was definitely an amazing experience, and I would do it again.
That's awesome.
No, I was
great.
again.
How long was that process?
The casting process was about 4 months. Wow. Was 4.5 months. The filming wasn't a long period of time, but it was a grueling schedule. You were on set anywhere from 6 hours to 23 hours.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Wow.
The longest set day was where casting call was at 7 o'clock. Set call was at 7 o'clock. So that means we had to be up and ready on set at 7.
Right.
And we finished filming and were released 5:30 the next morning.
Holy cow. Yeah. So I mean,
It's a long day.
Yeah, you're right.
But I tell you what, this whole production company, this whole Netflix thing, it's serious stuff because they took care of us 100% of the way.
Cool.
Okay. You were hungry, got there on set. There was a whole table full of snacks, breakfast foods, cakes, cookies, hot food, lunches, whatever you needed, it was there. If you had special dietary needs.
That's great. I mean, that's good to hear. That, okay, so there is.
Come to find out from some of my colleagues, Netflix was one of the better networks to be working with. Because they actually put so much into it. Yeah. And
when this thing first started, I mean, your wife, like family, people like you're crazy, like don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a while back, probably about 2 years ago. I've met some friends through COVID and whatever. And one of my mentors, his name is Chef Nicholas. He's a 2-time chop champion. He beat Bobby Flay, okay? Unbeknownst to me, just met him just as a regular guy. We started talking about food at the farm one day, and he's like, yeah, you know who I am? I'm like, no, I don't.
No.
So one of my friends said, that's Chef Nicholas. He was a White House chef, blah, blah. Well, he said to me one day, he says, I was doing little farm to plate stuff, and he says, you really know what you're doing? He says, you have background? I said, no. I told him my background. He says, he was in my encouragement, okay? He pushed me to do this. So when this opportunity come along, I called up Nick, and I was like, what do you think? And he says, what do you have to lose? I said, all right, I'll try it. As my wife, again, sitting there one day wondering what tomorrow's going to bring. She's like, what do you think? This cooking thing is taking off. The baking thing is taking off. What do you think? I said, I don't know, Margaret. I said, who knows? It could be a show. It could be nothing. It could be, just the meal reels that I'm doing, but we have a mantra in our family. And one of them is, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Okay. And, she's been really good. Without her and my son to allow me to take the time to pursue this for us, it wouldn't have been possible.
Sure. That's great.
Wow.
What an awesome story.
I want to say, especially with you two guys, behind every hardworking man is a great woman.
100%.
You guys both have great partners.
There's no way I could do what I do without the 100% support of my wife and my children. And you know what? Honestly, our kids didn't sign up for this.
Right.
They've grown up in this life, and I'm very proud of the fact that they've been, so great and supportive. And I know that's not always easy. It's not always easy for my wife and I. I mean, we joke. We do have our family life, which is everybody's family life, and then we have our stage life, which is, we'll all be in the kitchen having normal family discussions, and then people walk through, and we all stop, and it's big smiles, and how was your day? And great, and now we're like, the Waltons, and then later on we're like the Munsters,
Well, it's with my family. We've Margaret and I have always worked together. Okay, we dated. We worked
Interesting,
together,
likewise.
Together. Okay, so it took a long time of adjustment to realize that there's a line. Okay, there's a line where work stays on one side and family stays on the other side. So no matter what's going on in your personal life, it doesn't spill over into work, and vice versa. And I think that's the only reason, that mutual respect that I'm sure you have for your wife as well.
Absolutely.
It's the only way it makes it work. Because people are like, I could never work with my wife. It's fine. I have a unique relationship.
Well, it's interesting because I 100% can relate, because that's exactly my wife and I met in college, working together.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together as best friends, then continued on, same industry. Then we both got into another industry together, still worked for the same company, shared an office in our house because, we were in sales in the wine business. And, it was just interesting. And then to open the B&B, and I always get that. I could never work with it. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I get that. But that's actually the only world I know.
Exactly.
For me, it's a great thing.
Yes.
But
Larry.
Yes.
Do us a favor. Tell us how people can find you.
You can really find me at 5412 Sound Avenue. That's where I am 7 days a week. Usually 10 to 5. Of course, 10 to 5 is when the store is open. But they can really seek us out and really learn more about us through social media. That is our biggest avenue. We do not have a budget to advertise in papers and TV and all that. But the Instagram and Facebook page is 1760 Homestead Farm. And that's the best way to really get a whole sense of what we do, is to scroll through and see what our page is all about.
Super excited about that.
We're going to share all of that on our announcement about this episode, everything that you're doing. We wish you well. You're exactly what Small Town Values is all about. We're here to help you and everyone in your industry. And Dave, same with you. You guys really make the North Fork great, and I can't wait to see the symmetry between you guys.
Oh, I'm very excited, and I have to ask one more thing, Larry. Can you just quickly share one of my favorite times to drive past your stand is at Christmas.
Okay.
I think you might have the most perfect Hallmark set on the side of the road. As I drive by, I mean, I try not to crash because I'm looking over to be like, man, they crush it. It is beautiful.
There's probably one holiday that really sticks out for my wife, and that's Christmas.
Okay.
Okay. She really, and I enjoy watching people be happy. So, so again, Christmas is a whole family affair.
Yes.
My son is in charge of Christmas. I never really wanted to sell Christmas trees. And Travis is like, no, we have to get in the game. We got to do this. So we chose to take the extra route. If you come by our stand at Christmas, they're all staked out. They're pre-cut trees, but they're
staked out.
And they're strategic, that we always have some sort of Christmas display that people can take pictures with. One year it was Travis's 1969 flatbed truck with the big wreaths on it and presents. Another one was a sleigh. And the whole barn is decked out in Christmas with the twinkle lights, and awesome. We have Santa Claus come in for a couple of weekends, and people can book a time with Santa Claus to have family photos. Yeah, Christmas is really one of our favorite special times.
Well, I just want you to know that also for a guy who, I love Christmas, and everybody knows Cedar House, we deck the halls.
Yeah.
That's the one time of year I tell everybody, please just stop by. I don't even care. Mm-hmm. I spend painstaking hours decorating. Yep. I want as many eyes to see it as possible. But I just wanted to compliment you that I absolutely love driving by. I slow down. I'm the guy slowing down the line on Sound Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's me. Only one time a year. Right. The rest of the time, I'm the guy who's actually riding you. No, I'm just kidding. But awesome.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed, not only thank you for inviting me back, but Larry, this is so great to meet you, and I look forward to building a relationship.
Oh, I look forward to the same. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you guys today and to be on Small Town Values. Family values means a lot to me and my family, and a lot of people, that more than you realize. But I thank you both for the opportunity, and I'm looking to future relationship here.
Likewise.
Great. Thanks for coming on. And I do want to thank Pam Young for introducing us.
Yes.
Really shout out to Pam.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Pam.
Pam.
All right, everyone. Have a great one.
Take care.